Hello again, everyone, and thanks for joining us for this Wednesday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, and I'll be hosting tonight's show once again. On the hazardous weather graphic, got the west coast out here lit up as well as the Brooks Range. Looks like into the North Slope. The red, that's winter storm warnings out here for the Yukon Delta until 6 p.m. Thursday. Gusty winds, mixture of precipitation, heavy at times, and also near whiteout conditions as well will continue. Right now, looking for it to continue through Thursday afternoon. We've got one storm currently pulling northward here into the northern Bering Sea and kicking the winds up pretty good, St. Lawrence Island. That'll drop off, that'll move off, and things will improve. And then another one crossing the Aleutians today, that's going to roll right up and bring the conditions down once again. But also for St. Lawrence Island and the Seward Peninsula, the northwest here, you can see looks like the Selawik Valley and Kotzebue Sound on up the northwest coast, and then back around the western Arctic coast. That's also winter storm warnings for snow, blowing snow, and whiteout conditions at times. And all of this area, those are out through 6 p.m. Thursday. And then a winter weather advisory here, as I mentioned, in the Brooks Range for 40-mile-per-hour winds, and visibility is reduced to half a mile at times. Same thing going on here, winter weather advisory for the this zone right here, eastern Norton Sound. So moving on to satellite imagery. Here's storm rolling up west of St. Lawrence Island today. That was just currently giving wind gusts of 70 miles per hour to Savunga and also at Tin City, with Tin City just about zero visibility and snow and blowing snow there. And then Gamble, not quite as strong, only 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts or 45 to 50, because they're in so close to the low center. It's tracking just west or near the west side of St. Lawrence Island. And otherwise, winds here along the coast anywhere from 35 to 55 miles per hour in wind gusts. And precipitation not all that heavy, but again, areas are getting some good blowing snow and reduced visibility, especially over the Yukon Delta. And that trails back into the huge cloud shield here associated with the next probably stronger and a little larger system. It's pulling up just between Adak and Atka, and I could tell that because Adak had northwest winds all day, and Atka had southeast winds that were gusting up to about 65 miles an hour. Also, the half an inch of rain during the day today there. So the next storm rolling up, winds coming down over the Pribilofs this afternoon, and not bad. Looked like sunshine, Bristol Bay, and of course over southern Alaska, mostly sunny, a lot of sunshine. This band right through here, that's an old frontal boundary from yesterday that's really washed out, lifting northeast as it rolls through the area of high pressure. But more cloudiness up here to the north with all this moisture coming northward and then kind of spilling in from the southwest there. But sunshine all the way down the southeast coast today with light winds. North Gulf Coast looking really good. And you can see what looks like clouds burning back. That's actually the ground warming up in the sunshine. And that because it's infrared imagery. And there you go. You can see that happen once again there. On the chart today, high pressure up over the northeast interior, the upper Yukon Valley holding, and also one here, southwest Gulf of Alaska. Got kind of a trough forming here along the North Gulf Coast or in the northeast Gulf of Alaska, and that'll start leading to an increase in the clouds and maybe a few showers, but it looks like at this point in time they'll stay off the coast at least through tomorrow, and then maybe some clouds will make their way on to the coast of the Panhandle on Thursday morning, and then also maybe some snow showers back here will edge their way westward to the border as well. Otherwise, for today, just some isolated shower activity here west of Kodiak Island on up in toward Kamishak Bay. State Airport Kodiak pouring clear skies this afternoon. Strong winds, rain about a ½ inch worth, so moderate at times here with this next system pulling northward. And winds will start edging back up there for the Pribilofs again after the 60-mile-an-hour wind gust you got with this system pulling through. And again, this bringing the strong winds currently in from St. Lawrence Island up across the Seward Peninsula into Bering Strait and spreading into the northwest coast. And this system you'll see tonight pulls northward, just like the other one did, now bring more strong winds, maybe gusts 65 miles an hour, possible storm warnings to the Pribilof Islands, definitely gale warnings here in advance of the front. And behind it, colder air rushing in once again, so snowfall levels drop back down to sea level, spreading into Adak and Atco with strong gusty winds, and then snow shower activity extending all the way out to the Komodorskis. And then actually as this front pulls northward, the original low pulls off into the Arctic. So snow and blowing snow and the winds will start to diminish on toward morning tonight, and maybe some clearing here along the southwest coast with less wind, but they don't end altogether. You're going to just keep the southerly wind or southeast wind, south-southeast component going, but it'll just be a little lighter here until this one rolls up again. Eastern interior, central interior, no change, high pressure, mostly clear skies, light winds. Here's this trough I spoke of in the Gulf of Alaska now, starting to become a little more visible. By contrast, easy to see since there's nothing else going on but high pressure, but still clear over the southeast coast. And for tomorrow, a very weak low, 1,019 millibars forms there. Still no effect to the panhandle, sunshine, southern Alaska, central interior, all the way up to the Arctic coast. And this low center, again, tracking up toward the Russian coast, looks like a little farther to the west than the one today is tracking. So that's going to still bring some pretty strong winds into St. Lawrence Island. And of course, winter storm warnings out for these areas, Yukon Delta, right up to the Bering Strait and the northwest coast. But precipitation, really not much getting inland at all. So you definitely increase in the winds as the front presses in toward the coast. But precipitation won't be anything significant. It doesn't look like at this point in time, with the exception of St. Lawrence Island on up toward the Bering Strait. And then less wind, this part of the front really weakening. Small craft advisory winds with rain for the Alaska Peninsula and ending eastern Aleutians with the front pushing by, and then snow showers out over the entire Bering Sea, kind of tapering off down toward the Aleutians there with the low center pulling northward. Nothing but sun again. Cook Inlet, North Gulf Coast, right on up across the interior, all of the interior here. And then the outlook for Friday. Here's the increase in the clouds along the coast of the Panhandle. It's a little bit of a change, but nothing too big. And then some snow showers developing there along the eastern border. Otherwise, sunshine, North Gulf Coast again, back in toward Cook Inlet. Look for a better chance of showers for Kodiak Island, but again, interior Alaska looking really good. This front hung up along the coast, big area high pressure aloft. In fact, the surface high east of the upper ridge, 1,051 millibars are holding pretty good. Strong enough to keep its domination of influence across the interior, holding this thing back to the west, really weakening, just a narrow band of light snow or flurries with that. And the winds, as you can tell, are grainy a lot lighter, so winds pretty slack, and kind of really not much going on out over the Bering, just some scattered snow showers out there. But the edge of the next big storm coming on, or the next big storm coming on to the edge of the map farther to the southwest. Lows tonight, anywhere from 10 above to 10 below, central eastern interior, much milder to the west, 20s to near 30, lower 30s Pribilofs and the Aleutians. And the southeast coast, teens to mid 30s, with single numbers of teens, southern Alaska. Highs for tomorrow, upper 20s, Susitna Valley to lower 30s, Cook Inlet, and lower 40s for Kodiak and Bristol Bay in the Alaska Peninsula, and highs into the 40s for the southeast coast with sunshine, about 20 for the Copper River Basin, and 20s more or less here over the eastern interior. And your lows for Friday morning, either side of zero, mostly below Copper River Basin and across the Tanana Valley all the way up to Arctic Village, and then right near close to zero here in the central interior areas, and then back into the mild 20s to lower 30s off to the west, and a panhandle not quite so cold, lows in the 20s to mid 30s. And the highs that afternoon, teens in the east, lower 40s down to the southwest.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Flying weather-wise, we're looking at about the same pattern we've seen for quite some time now. Lower conditions in the west, although not that bad tomorrow. Pretty good here off the southwest coast. Marginal VFR along the Yukon Delta coast, and then you hit the IFR south coast of the Seward Peninsula, St. Lawrence Island, through the Strait and the southern slopes of western mountains here. And then just spotty areas of marginal VFR, mostly VFR here over the western southern interior, IFR with the system out over the eastern Bering Sea. And good conditions continue across the southeast coast through tomorrow afternoon. VFR westward here through much of the mainland, all the way up to the Arctic coast and beyond. And marginal VFR here in areas inland across the northeast, or from northern Bristol Bay up into the Seward Peninsula with that band of IFR with a hung up front associated with a stalled front here along the southwest coast to the Alaska Peninsula, breaking out the VFR behind. And then for Friday morning, that band still stuck there. High pressure holding here over the interior, so good conditions, mostly VFR over the mainland, Gulf of Alaska to the Arctic coast, and breaking out to VFR from the Pribilofs there down to Nikolsky, and not too bad for Adak and Atka. And marginal VFR right along the southeast coast, as we see here for the Friday morning. And then Friday afternoon, that burns back off the coast, so another VFR day for the Panhandle, North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound. Again, much of the interior right on up to the Arctic. Marginal VFR on the eastern Arctic coast, maybe. And then this continuing dissipating frontal boundary here keeps some IFR in across Bristol Bay and the Aleutian Range. And then from the Yukon Delta right up to Nome, more or less up there across Norton Sound. And then marginal VFR from there northwestward. A VFR day for St. Lawrence Island, Nunivak Island, probably the Pribilofs, really pretty good out here over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. And for passes, Anatuvik, starting out marginal, becoming VFR, at least by afternoon. And Adigan, though, a little too far east, you'll miss out on moisture that would drop it down to that category. So VFR the entire day. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, good VFR. Rainy, same forecast. VFR for windy, eastern Alaska Range, all VFR, Isabel Mentasta, and Tanita there, Manaska Valley, and Portage. VFR, Chilkoot and White, VFR, and guys, you may stay VFR for the next 6 days. And for the freezing levels, 2,000 feet here, all the way north into, well, right around Kotzebue and across the Seward Peninsula. And a patch up there even along the central Arctic coast with just persistent southerly wind flow. And then the little bit warmer air here with the upper level ridge, 6,000 feet, Gulf of Alaska into the Panhandle. And that's going to help nudge your daytime highs up a little bit there as that upper ridge kicks in over the area with offshore flow. 2,000 feet right up to the Alaska Range. Icing-wise, none. Over the interior, there's a weak band here of isolated moderate rime possible. Alaska Peninsula northwestward with a weak frontal boundary, and then maybe some scattered light mixed icing out over the western Aleutians. And that's about it icing-wise. So moving on to the jet stream. High pressure, Gulf of Alaska, ridging up. Another center on the Arctic coast. You can see it dominates the entire state more or less here, with the exception of where the southeast jet cuts through. And that's where we have the storminess from right along the coast through this boundary back out to the west there. And going on to 9,000 feet, big low pulling northward again, and westerlies not all that bad here, anywhere from 15 to 25 over the Aleutians, and then the southerlies, though much stronger. You can see 75 knot winds coming in towards St. Lawrence Island, and the Bering Strait 50 knots to 55 knots on the southwest coast, and on the increase here over the western interior. Otherwise pretty light southeast Alaska on down the Panhandle. Same pattern here at 3,000 feet, light winds under high pressure over the Panhandle, eastern interior, and then windy, 25 to 35 across the Aleutians, south to north, or southeast to northwest, up to 75 miles an hour here, or 50 to 75 miles an hour along the coast and to the west, diminishing eastward, and turbulence. Moderate chop, widespread moderate chop here below 6,000 feet, Alaska Peninsula, right along the southwest coast, on up across the Bering Strait areas into the Chukchi Sea, and the Aleutians occasional light to moderate chop. And after the break, I'll be back with the marine forecasts.
Hello, I'm a GOES-R series weather satellite orbiting 22,000 miles above Earth. I can see a lot of cool stuff from up here, and I take pictures of it with my spiffy camera that has 16 different settings. I have such good eyesight, I can see clouds, snow, smoke, smog, and ash, so I can warn you about dangerous conditions and help you avoid them. When storms are brewing, I watch them closely and help with hurricane, tornado, and flood warnings to help keep you safe. And my lightning mapper tracks lightning strikes way up in the sky, even through dark, dense clouds. I also help with search and rescue missions. I listen for distress signals from emergency beacons and tell search and rescue teams just where to find people who need help. But even when I'm keeping a close eye on Earth, I'm monitoring weather out here in space, too. I watch the sun for big bursts of energy, which send waves of radiation toward Earth that can affect power grids, block communication with planes, cause errors in GPS, and damage satellites. Space weather is also very dangerous for astronauts working outside the International Space Station. I warn them so they can get inside where they'll be safe. So the next time you watch a weather report or check your phone for the forecast, remember, that's me. So look to the sky and wave. I'll be here. Whoa! Things are looking pretty bad down there. But don't worry. I'm going to give weather forecasters a heads up and help you stay safe. I'm a GOZAR series weather satellite, and one of my jobs is to keep an eye on Earth's weather as I orbit above. But I'm 22,000 miles above Earth. How does your local weather forecaster know what I see all the way up here? First, I have to figure out what's going on. I point my special camera at the Earth and take pictures of the clouds I see below. My pictures show where the clouds are, but I also take lots of other notes about the clouds. For example, how high they reach into the atmosphere, how much rain they might cause, and when a severe storm may be forming. But I can't keep all of this information to myself. I have to share it with weather forecasters down on Earth. A big antenna is waiting for my call. Since I'm a satellite, I send my pictures and notes in a computer language of ones and zeros. Luckily, the antenna speaks my language. Computers connected to the antenna organize my notes and combine all of the pictures and cloud information and translate them into weather maps. They send a version of the maps back up to me. I'll hold on to these for later. Another copy of the maps is split into smaller pieces. This helps the maps move faster from one place to another. The map pieces are then sent for processing before being sent back up in the sky to a communication satellite. From there, the maps are picked up by antennas at the National Weather Service forecast offices in each region. There are more than 100 offices. I also take the maps that I received and send them out to companies that specialize in making the maps more colorful and better for viewing on TVs and computers. The colorful maps and the maps from the forecast offices then go to your local weather forecaster. The forecaster combines the information from these maps with lots of other information, like model forecast data and radar data, to make predictions about the upcoming weather in your area. And that's how I help you find out if bad weather is going to ruin your afternoon plans. You're welcome. Soon it will be my time to shine. In outer space. I'm the GOES-R satellite. That stands for Geostationary Operational Environmental Satellite. And the R stands for my order in this series of weather satellites. Like my older siblings before me, I'll do a lot for watching weather, but I'm pretty special because I have a lot of new gadgets. I'm originally from Colorado, but my journey to space has a few stops along the way. I'll be shipped in a very special satellite shipping container to Kennedy Space Center. Moving me around is not easy. I'm over 18 feet wide and weigh 6,000 pounds. And then things get really exciting. I get loaded onto an Atlas V541 launch vehicle. A big rocket! Woo! After Atlas and I blast off together, my compartment separates from the launch vehicle and I continue to climb higher and higher. Then I break away completely and unfurl my solar panel and antenna. After that, I have to use my thrusters to get into just the right position, 22,000 miles above the ground and traveling 1.9 miles per second to keep up with Earth's rotation. And then I can officially start my job along with my fellow GOES sisters, where I take advanced pictures for more accurate weather forecasts, map lightning in real time, and improve the monitoring of the sun's activity. It's going to be so awesome! I can't wait!
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Today's sea ice analysis, again, southerly winds nonstop, really eroding it back on the southwest coast and tearing it up south of the Bering Strait. And even on the north side here, you can see north of the Seward Peninsula opening up there, as well as from Cape Lisburne up toward Point Lay and back to the west of St. Lawrence Island as well. And that's going to continue as long as the winds keep out of the south or southeast. And for the coastal water forecast here, the Panhandle, south 10 knots, south coast to east to north on the north coast at 10, with seas running 6 to 8 feet, just high enough to keep small craft advisories going. Otherwise, southern inside channels north at 10, picking up to 20 knots there at Stevens Passage and Lynn Canal. Then on Friday, we've got small craft advisories for Lynn Canal due to those 25-knot northerlies, and Stevens Passage down to 15, and southeast are just variable at 10 for Clarence Strait. Light west winds at 10 here for the southeast coast. That's going to help bring some clouds into the coast, at least in the morning hours. Southeast 10 on the north coast, and now seas down to 5 to 6 feet. And Cook Inlet, northeast 10 for the northern Cook Inlet zone, and the Forelands on down across Kamishak Bay, north at 15, west 20 for the Barren Islands, west-northwest at 15, with 5-foot seas for the North Gulf Coast and light westerlies for Prince William Sound. Also through Friday there, west winds 10 knots for the eastern North Gulf Coast, 15 knots out of the west side and the Barrens, west 10 knots from Kamishak Bay up to northern Cook Inlet. And for Bristol Bay on Thursday, tomorrow, southeast 25 and then southeast 30 to 35 across the Alaska Peninsula. Sitkinak, Castle Cape, general southerlies at 20, 15-knot winds, Kodiak Island. And then on Friday, west 15 here on the Pacific side of the peninsula, north side, southeast at 10, and southeast 20, Bristol Bay, southwest of Sitkinak, southwest at 20, otherwise southwest at 15, there on the east side of Kodiak Island. And for the Aleutians tomorrow, 25 to 30 knot westerlies here west of Adak. And for Adak and Atka, 25 to 35 knot winds out of the west. And head of the front, pushing eastward, south 40 knots there, front Alaska Island, small craft advisories behind it. And then for Friday, really dropping down. We've got west-southwest 15 knots here for the eastern Aleutians and 15 to 20 for Adak and Atka, and then 20 knot winds all the way out. Bering Sea tomorrow, good gales, in fact storms, south 50 knots with the Pribilofs with that low tracking up just to the west there, and southeast 50 for St. Matthew Island, southeast 35 to 40 along the southwest coast, right on up across St. Lawrence Island, And the outlook for Friday, much different. We've got northerlies 10 to 15 here for the southwest coast, light northerlies for the Pribilofs, south 30 there for St. Matthew Island, and brisk wind advisories, but winds coming down to 25 knots for St. Lawrence Island. Up along the Arctic coastal zones here, we'll start with Wales up to, well actually here, we've got 45 knot winds from Cape Thompson to Cape Beaufort, south of there, southeast 35, north of there, up the coast, south 35, coming down to brisk wind advisory levels on the central coast, otherwise southeast 15 to 20 east side. And then for Friday, southeast 25 in the far eastern zone, otherwise east-southeast 15, all the way down to Cape Beaufort, and then you pick up brisk wind advisories due to 25 knot winds now instead of the gales, south to southeast. And for tonight again, we have one storm currently coming up to the north there affecting St. Lawrence Island, the Bering Strait. That pulls up off the map actually by 3 a.m. The next one comes up from the Aleutians to about this position west of the Pribilof, so good winds with that, storm force winds associated with it, and milder temperatures for rain. Break here on the southwest coast with less wind, dry conditions, maybe some clearing, and toward morning, snow and blowing sun begins to improve up here in the northwest. No change over the eastern interior, no change for the Panhandle. Clouds forming, gathering in the Gulf of Alaska, and really not going, won't affect the southeast coast until Friday. Otherwise, this front, like the former ones, weakens as it pushes in toward the coast, and still some blowing snow, especially along the coastal areas, but additional snow inland, not much at all. Better chance up here, St. Lawrence Island, western Seward Peninsula. Dry for the Arctic coast, and sunshine, central eastern interior, down across the Panhandle again. And for Friday, this front really washes out and gets stuck along the coast again with really just light precipitation with it. Sunshine, central eastern interior, increase in the clouds for the southeast coast.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.